What happens when the backbone of an operation finally says enough? In the high-stakes world of Gold Rush, we've seen plenty of drama, breakdowns, and explosive moments. But sometimes the most powerful moments are the quiet ones. And Chris Doumitt's resignation from the Gold Room is exactly that kind of moment that hits you right in the gut. If you've been following Gold Rush, you know Chris wasn't just another crew member. He was the guy who held everything together when the world was falling apart. The man who could coax broken equipment back to life with nothing but determination and a wrench. But this season, something changed. The legend who seemed unbreakable finally reached his breaking point. And the way it happened will surprise you. Chris Doumitt didn't start as a gold miner. He was thrown into this world as a carpenter, a builder who found himself in the middle of a gold fever with nothing but a toolbox and that signature half smile. But here's the thing about Chris. He didn't just adapt to the chaos of gold mining. He became calm in the storm. For years, Chris was the guy everyone leaned on. When equipment broke down in the dead of night, Chris was there. When the pressure mounted and everyone else was ready to call it quits, Chris rolled up his sleeves and got elbow deep in the mud. He wasn't chasing camera time or headlines. His worth was measured in uptime, in crises that didn't become disasters, in crews that made it through impossible shifts without falling apart. The Gold Room became his domain, and he ran it with a precision that was almost sacred. Every speck of gold that passed through his hands got treated like it was the last. That kind of dedication doesn't just happen. It's forged through years of frozen valves, shattered belts, and engine room floods that would break most people. This season started like all the others. Big talk, bigger goals. Parker Schnabel wanted 10,000 ounces, a number that hung in the air like fog. Thick, heavy, and impossible to ignore. It sounded brave on camera, but everyone on site knew what it really meant. Longer days, fewer breaks, and more broken things to patch up. Big Red, Roxanne, and Bob were all running, simultaneously grinding, screaming for attention. 3 plants meant 3 times the stress, and Chris stood right in the middle of it all. The man between disaster and delivery. The Sol boxes gurgled with slurry, loaded with promise. But every load dumped brought a new kind of tension. As Chris put it himself, right now, I don't think all the coffee and the cigars in the world is going to help. And if I create a bottleneck, it's going to jam up everything. It's going to cause horrific problems. The screens shook, pumps threatened to stall, and lines buckled under pressure. But Chris held it all together with a wrench in one hand and exhaustion hanging off the other. He wasn't just the Gold Room guy. He was the guy who knew how to keep the soul of the mind from flatlining. Here's what most people don't understand about burnout. It doesn't announce itself with fireworks. It starts as a whisper, building slowly until by the time it roars, it's already too late. For Chris, that whisper turned into a scream right around mid-season. The crew was stretched so thin, the ground beneath them practically cracked. Parker, laser-focused on that 1,000-ounce dream, wasn't pulling anyone off machinery to help. Not one person that left Chris alone in the Gold Room, watching buckets pile up like thunderclouds. He never complained, not once. But that didn't mean he was okay. Something changed in his posture. His steps grew slower. His shoulders didn't bounce back the way they used to. The fire in his eyes dimmed, not gone, but flickering. The breaking point wasn't dramatic. There was no meltdown, no slamming of tools. Chris just started, wondering out loud, in short, cautious sentences if he had reached the end. And that was terrifying because when a man like Chris begins to doubt, it sends a ripple through the whole crew. Recognizing that Chris needed help, the team made a crucial decision. Tatiana Costa, one of their top operators behind the wheel, was brought in to help in the Gold Room. It wasn't easy. Mitch and Tyson weren't thrilled about losing her from the machines, but Chris needed help. More than they needed perfect haul cycles. We'll just take Tatiana, Parker decided. Tatiana, perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank You so much. Now I can breathe a little bit. Chris took on the role of teacher, watching, instructing, and guiding Tatiana through the intricacies of the gold room. He didn't bark orders or criticize. He taught like someone who wanted the job done right, not just done fast. She was sharp and capable, but it was still the kind of shift that rattles. A man used to doing everything alone. The gold kept coming. 70, then 289. Then more. The totals made for good television and made Parker grin. But behind those numbers, the real cost was adding up. Chris's fingerprints were on every clean out that mattered. Every record-breaking total had him behind it. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, where things actually got done. But this season was different. The numbers weren't just bigger, they were brutal. The strain didn't just challenge the body, it hollowed the spirit. It asked the question no one likes to ask: is it worth it? Chris didn't answer out loud. He answered with his silence, with the way he paused before starting another shift, with the way he looked at the buckets and didn't rush to pick them up. That pause meant something. As the season progressed, even the gold didn't seem to glow the way it used to. There was a moment, small, intimate, unfilmed, where Chris stood over the sol box, arms covered in grime, staring at gold, sparkles in the collection tray. Not much, just a few solid ounces, enough to feel good about. But he didn't smile, didn't nod, didn't react. He just stared, and then he walked away. That was the moment, the shift, the realization that even the gold had lost its magic. I told Parker I would stay on the job until either it's not fun anymore or I can't do it anymore. We're getting very close to the I can't do it anymore. The decision to leave wasn't made in anger or frustration. It was made in those quiet moments between cleanups, during tool checks, while waiting for the next load. The kind of moments that give you clarity when the rest of the world is screaming. He looked at the machines, the crew, the gold, and for the first time he saw it from a distance, not as something to conquer, but as something he had already conquered. He had given everything, and now he was giving himself permission to stop. When Chris finally walked away, he left the gold room cleaner than he found it. Tools aligned, machines checked, buckets sacked. Even on his way out, he was holding things together, making sure everything would keep running without a hitch. His absence didn't hit all at once. It crept in through the little things. A question no one had the answer to. A fix that took longer than usual. A moment of silence where a laugh used to be. Parker, for all his drive and strategy, understood what he had lost. Chris wasn't just a worker. He was the example. The man who didn't flinch, who didn't quit, who made it look easy even when it wasn't. Tatiana stepped up, admirably, adapting quickly to the gold room's demands. But even she admitted, quietly, that there was something sacred in how Chris used to run the place. Sacred not because of superstition, but because it was earned through years of dedication and expertise. In the end, Chris Doumitt proved that legends aren't just made by what they accomplish, but by how they choose to step away when the time is right. He gave it his all, and when there was nothing left to give, he had the wisdom to stop. That's not quitting. That's mastery.